Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Walkera Runner 250 Race Quad. Now this is a review model from GearBest.com. I'll have the links in the description of where you can pick one of these up if you're interested. But anyway, let's get into the review. What we're going to do is we're going to first, out of the box, kind of just go over what you get in the box, initial thoughts on the whole thing, all the parts, and kind of an initial inspection. And then we're going to get out there, do some flights, get some video on a hat cam, and also actually hook up the FPV camera. This is an FPV system. This is the basic 3 model with the FPV and the OSD that comes in the package, all hooked up together, pre-assembled. So we're going to see if we can get some FPV on the goggles I have, and do some FPV recording as well with the EasyCap dongle and attachment for a cell phone, and see if we can record some video from the actual FPV itself. And then come back and do kind of a pros and cons, afterthoughts of what I thought on how the thing ran and kind of how it held up and how it, the control of the whole thing. Anyway, to get started, out of the box, you get the quad itself, of course. Really nice looking carbon fiber. Looks like the arms are pretty thick. You can see the motors here. These are 2500 kV motors, brushless motors. Right off the bat, you can see the FPV antenna here. This is a 5.8 gigahertz FPV setup. We've got a camera mount on top that is dampened with rubber ball dampers. Here you can see to cushion your camera. So in essence, you'll actually have the FPV hooked up to your wirelessly through your FPV setup, which will actually be a lower resolution image. And then if you wanted a higher definition camera on board, you would mount it right up here, which will add a little bit of weight, but you'll get a way better, nice, clear picture if you'd like to display your first-person footage. Anyway, you got the antenna mounts. This one looks like it has retractable antenna mounts here. The tubes where the antenna goes in. This is the receiver antenna here, and the receiver's underneath right here. 2.4 gigahertz receiver, 5.8 gigahertz FPV with the cloverleaf antenna here. This is a circular polarized cloverleaf for a little bit clearer FPV video, and the cloverleaf design actually eliminates multipath interference, so it's a little bit better design than some of the regular type of antennas like this. So anyway, taking a look at the front, here's your board camera, and you also get a 2200 milliamp 3S LiPo battery in the box with this XT60 connector on it. You also get a set of props. These are self-tightening props, the Walkera stock props for this quad. I would have liked to seen maybe another set, or at least 2 more, just to give you a little extra, because race quads are known to crash and break props. So it would have been nice to have maybe a couple of extra props in the box, but in this case they didn't give any extras. So maybe Walkera can work on that one. Then they give you this battery, kind of like this rubber battery grip slip-in thing, so the battery won't slip around on the carbon fiber. You also get a little bag of tools here. Looks like you get 2 Allen hex wrenches and then 1 wrench for stuff like maybe your FPV antenna. And you also get a transmitter trainer cable. So this would be if you are wanting to maybe learn how without having the full gain of the sticks on the controller. You would plug this in and hook it up to the software. They do give you a DVD. They do give you the manual and a DVD as well. So it looks like you could hook this up to the software on the transmitter, plug this in, and then adjust some settings. So if you are learning how to fly, you could tone down some of the settings. And then of course you also get your instruction manual, the DVD for the transmitter. Pretty well done instruction manual. It's in color and black and white. It goes through pretty straightforward. goes through all the parts on the quad, how to do everything, how to plug it in, how to set it up, the arming sequence, how to fly, just your basic stuff. And then very important in acro mode, how to make sure you turn off and on acro mode. You don't want to be starting in acro mode or else you'll be flipping out of control and crashing. One thing that was kind of lacking was kind of any kind of literature on advanced functions of the craft. Also in the box you get the charger. This is just a LiPo, pretty simple balance charger, the slow type, and your wall adapter. It looks like GearBest did put in a, this is a Euro plug here, and they did put in a US adapter here, so you can just slip it on if you are in the US. It seems like they've been doing that more and more now. They've been pretty sure to put the US adapters in the box with the product. And of course the last thing is the controller. So it's a basic 7-channel hobby grade controller. It does look pretty nice. It's got some nice heft to it. You've got a knob on the top here. You've got 2 toggles on top, and then 3 toggles on the front, all different modes. I think most of these aren't really set up to use this quad, but you can go into the software. There's a software called MultiWii, and you can actually install it on your computer, and you can go in and change what some of these channels do to your quad. Some people will put the arming instead of pulling on the stick and arming it. Some people will put the arming to one of these switches up here, off and on. Some people will do a throttle hold. I've been reading in this quad is known to have something called the flip of death, which when you're flying and you put your throttle all the way down and then you throttle back up, some of the motors will spin faster than, they'll spin up faster, like the front will spin up faster than the back or vice versa. And then when you do throttle up, the quad will accidentally flip and you'll crash. So I've done a few things already on this when I set it up, and one of them was to mitigate the throttle of death. Basically your throttle trim is just up a little bit, so when you do arm it, your propellers will automatically spin up, and you won't have that flip of death. When you do accidentally come all the way down on the throttle when you're flying, it won't flip. Your propellers will always be spinning slightly when it's armed. This can all be calibrated in the controller, and you just put the throttle hold switch to turn off the propellers like that. So if you do flip over, you can turn them off. And then also, since you do have the throttle trim up a little bit, so when you do arm it, they start spinning, you can also use the throttle hold to just basically turn off the props while it's armed, turn off the motors while it's armed. So, you know, so it's kind of neat actually. I like that 2-step process. So instead of arming it and going and flying, and then possibly if you are all the way down and hard right when you're flying, it seems like it could possibly disarm. So I actually like that, doing the throttle hold like this, arming, and then I know it's armed and the propellers aren't spinning, and then I can just turn off the throttle hold and then the propellers will start spinning up. So it's kind of a 2-step arm process, which I actually like a lot. So there are some videos on YouTube. I might make one more on how to do that. But basically the controller itself is basically a hobby grade 2.4 gigahertz controller. It's well built. Out of the box, it does come with this little battery caddy here, which you've got to put 8 batteries into, 8 AA batteries. And it does have this JST connector. So if you have a 3S battery, you can actually plug in the 3S and 3S LiPo and just totally take this out. And then this here is your, this is where you would plug in your trainer port, your trainer cable. Out of the box, the fail-safe on these, if you do go out of range or the controller goes off, is it just supposedly will kind of hover. And you don't really want to have it hovering and just kind of flying off into, you know, oblivion if you lose connection. So what I'll do is I'll change the fail-safe to just a throttle off after a couple seconds, so it'll just drop to the ground and turn off the motors. So before we fly out to the park, I just want to power it up and show you guys how it looks real quick, so you can see how the LED lights look and all that kind of stuff before we actually start kind of dirtying it up by flying it. To power this guy up, you just turn on the controller first. Then immediately plug in the quad. You'll hear some beeps. And then you'll hear another final beep from the controller itself. And then you're ready to go. To arm the quad, you go to the bottom left on the throttle stick. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my throttle hold, since I did do that throttle trim adjustment already to prevent that flip. So you can see the LEDs when it is armed. You can see how bright they are. They've got these nice red rear taillight LEDs, and then they have a couple of nice bright white headlight LEDs. And the cool thing about the camera is you can adjust the tension with 2 screws on the side here, and you can tilt the camera. It's got a tilting base, so if you're a really fast flyer, you can tilt this up a little bit, so when your quad is going, you still have a straight, nice view of where you're going. Or if you're just learning, slow flyer, keep it kind of straight. And then just to show you how the throttle hold works, once you configure it in the controller, which is really easy, you can actually configure the throttle hold and the throttle trim on the controller itself. You don't have to go into any software. Once it's armed, as soon as I go ahead and take off my throttle hold, the props will start spinning. And then you see how I click that again and the throttle hold turns the props off. So this is a good way to, if the quad flips over, to just completely cut the motors. It'll just cut them so you're not like spinning the motors into the dirt and messing up your props and stuff. So then I can disarm. So how you get it stock is it doesn't have any throttle hold set. So you would just arm and disarm, and the propellers won't start spinning until you give it throttle or not. So the throttle hold is recommended. I'd recommend anybody that gets this quad should probably do it. I'm doing it preemptively because I've already read up on it. So, you know, that could already be kind of a con that you need to do something like that. But we'll kind of touch base more on that in the final pros and cons after we fly. Okay, guys. So anyway, let's get out to the park and do some flying, do some full testing on this guy, and like I mentioned before, we'll have the video of the FPV and actual HD action cam mounted on there. Get some video from that, see how it flies, come back, do kind of a final thoughts, pros and cons assessment, and see how good this thing is. Okay, so we're at the park. It's a little bit windy today, probably 20 plus miles per hour, and you can kind of see the trees kind of blowing in the wind pretty hard. But kind of in a cove, gonna try to see if we can get some line of sight flight first, and then try the FPV a little bit if the weather cooperates. So I was having trouble with the FPV system, and I'll talk about that more a little bit later, but I had to actually kind of retrofit my own FPV on this guy for this flight. And so I'm going to be taking the FPV out of the run cam, and I put my own little 200 milliwatt transmitter with my own antenna on it here. So I'll talk about that more later because I couldn't get the FPV system to work right. I think it might have been a defect. So let's just do some line of sight, then do some FPV, and see how this thing works. Alright, so it feels pretty good, even though there's a little bit of wind. See what happens if we punch it. Woo! Not bad. See what the stock yaw rate is. stock yaw. Not bad. Taking off the stock camera and FPV setup considerably lightened it actually. And we'll go more into that on the pros and cons a little later to see what the weight saving comparison was. But as you can see right now, there's no camera in the front, it's just empty. I just have that run cam on the top. So I'm going to show you what happens when so basically the way I've set this up is the propellers always stay on until you hit the throttle hold button, switch, and then I can disarm it. So I've actually put a beeper on this, so when I do flip this switch all the way up, you can kind of hear it. That's if you lose it in the forest or something. You just switch that up and you can find it by sound. Switch it back down, it goes off. Let's see how the FPV is. So first little crash, tried to go under some trees and looks like I need some more training, but basically just the run cam fell off, popped off with a dual lock, and the antenna is just unclipped. Looks like it's pretty minor. It's like this little USB thing came loose for the run cam. Alright, everything seems okay. Oh! Looks like we got a bent propeller. Okay, so one bent propeller. So I bought a few extra ones so at least I can kind of keep running. There we go. Done. Ooh, that wind's coming up. Okay, and then testing the failsafe. You turn the radio off just in case you lose radio. Propellers will shut off. Second attempt through the trees. A little too windy for stuff like that right now. And looks like minimal damage. Another prop is kind of bent. This one could probably bend back. But basically just the cam flew off again, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. And the this time the video transmitter ripped off, which is fine. I don't see any damage, so I'd rather it rip off than break. So cool, looks pretty good. You know, as you can see, I'm not a pro drone racer yet, still training, but this definitely gives you a good idea of what this thing could be capable of. It seems like the wind, it's definitely hard to control in the wind. As I get higher up, the wind really affects the throttle control, so you really don't have that precision you need for navigating tight obstacles. So hopefully soon I can come back when it's a nice calm day and I'll get some more video of this thing performing how it's kind of intended. Alright, let's try some line of sight flips. Everything looks okay. Let's try again. Still flying fine. Okay, good to know. When your battery's low, tail lights blink. Okay, so I'm going to try one more battery. This is not a stock type of battery. This is a 2700 mAh from the Cheerson CX20. It looks like it just barely squeezes in here. Yeah, you can definitely feel the weight difference. So let's try one of those flips again. Oh! Oh, that was a bad crash. Shit. That was a really bad crash. Well, let's see the damage. Okay, so this time completely lost one prop. Better look for a few dampeners. Screwed up my cable for my camera. Looks like the antennas are okay, antenna tubes are alright. There's one of those dampeners. Don't want to lose these. They don't give you any extras in the box. Oh, okay. It's on the camera and the bracket. So, not too bad. No broken carbon fiber, just a broken prop and a broken FPV camera jack, USB cable. Jack seems okay, it's just the cable end, so I can get another one of those, no problem. See if anything else is missing. And you know, that's what happens when you're trying to learn how to do flips and stuff. When you're not familiar with acro mode, just going to go through those bumps and scrapes. And this is exactly where you want to learn how to do it at a park like this. Minimal damage. Alright, so let's get back to the bench and go through the pros and cons and see how this thing did. Hey guys, welcome back. So you saw some footage at the park of me flying this thing, doing some crashing as well. Still have a lot of learning to do, especially in acro mode. But it performed pretty well. I'm going to go over some pros and cons now, and kind of fill you guys in on exactly what I thought about this Walkera Runner 250. So as you noticed, I was missing some of the parts that actually came in the box while I was flying it. The video transmitter, the 5.8 gigahertz video transmitter, this is the OSD, and then this is the camera that comes in the basic 3 package. So what happened with me was I was getting no video from the camera. So first of all, I'm not sure, but it's probably a defective camera for me. I tried every which way. I also swapped it out for another camera I had laying around. This one here, this came with my Quantum FPV goggle kit, and it actually worked with this camera, so I know for sure it wasn't something else as far as the camera went, because it did work with this camera here. So when I did plug in this camera, I did get image, but the image was actually pulsing no signal once in a while. So it would do like a double pulse, no signal. It would come back. So it was really unflyable with the stock FPV system that was provided. And the funny thing is when I did have the camera not hooked up, the OSD would display on the black screen. So it was transmitting to my goggles with just the OSD, and it would read everything. It was reading the tilt and roll and all that kind of stuff, the horizon line correctly. But then as soon as I plugged in the camera, the OSD would just click off, and I would just have the camera with that weird pulsing issue. So I couldn't get this thing to work right. I tried all different kinds of channels. I tried everything I could. I wasted a lot of time on that. And I'm hoping it must just be a defective unit I was sent. And that's unfortunate because, this is a review. But I'm going to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt that it's probably just a defect in possibly the circuitry on the board itself, or just in the units here I was sent. So as you can see, what I ended up doing was just kind of outfitting my own FPV system. This is a 200 milliwatt transmitter with an IB Crazy cloverleaf antenna, and just kind of wired up a little mini harness, and then I was just going straight off of the run cam, action cam, and it was doing pretty well. So I went ahead, since the camera wasn't working, this camera is fairly heavy, so since I took the camera out and I kind of just had my own harness, I actually saved a little bit of weight compared to the stock. And I'm going to go ahead and weigh all that up right now so you can kind of see the differences. Okay, so with my setup, without the battery, and just everything else besides the battery itself, we're going to go ahead and weigh this. So as you can see, we're getting 417 grams total weight without the battery. And this would basically be how I'm completely using it, of course without the battery, doing the FPV with the wire harness and all that stuff. The wire harness I did weigh separately. It just weighs a few grams. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and put on all of the other stuff that it would be stock. Okay, so without the camera, it's 397. We had the camera on there, 438. Add the FPV transmitter and the antenna, 463. And then the OSD with everything besides the battery is 468. So you can see there's quite a bit of a difference if you kind of remove all this stuff and just use your own FPV system, which I ended up doing. And for the most part, it worked pretty good. Obviously, I can't get the OSD on screen, but that's not too big of a deal since it is a race drone. I'm not too worried about the OSD. the OSD is better for if you have a GPS kind of smart quad and you're going like long distances. It's nice to have that GPS capability. The transmitter that it came with, I was having issues. I think I mentioned this before in the out of the box kind of small review before the flight. But the transmitter, the pitch was not working on the transmitter, so I actually had to go and get a new transmitter just for this review, which set me back another $60. So I am kind of in contact with Walkera and also GearBest, since this is a GearBest review, and trying to sort that out with them to figure out what we can do to compensate that. But as you saw in the video, I did do a couple crashes, some pretty hard crashes from pretty high up. And the only thing that happened was the camera fell off, this antenna bracket fell off a few times. So I kind of like how it's a breakaway. I did have a couple of props bend and then one prop completely broke. But that's kind of just because I'm not really trained in acro mode, so that was kind of my first attempt at acro mode. But otherwise, if you're in self-leveling mode, no problem, easy to control. It was super windy, as you could see, so it was like 20 plus miles per hour winds in the park. And of course, for any kind of flying vehicle, that's really not the ideal conditions. But as you could see, the run cam action cam that's located on top here with the provided mounts and then a couple of dual lock layers really didn't have any jello in the video. And what I'll probably be doing when I get a little better is propping this camera up at an angle just a little bit more. This camera did have a little more delayed time than something like probably the stock camera would have had. And then the run cam, since it is kind of recording as you're outputting the FPV, does have maybe around 100 milliseconds delay time. So I guess we'll see how that's going to be for really tight quarter flying. But in the park, not too bad. As you can see, I was trying to kind of navigate through some trees as well, and it was just too windy for that kind of stuff. So I'll probably have another video out that kind of demonstrates the capability. I'll be making a few more videos once I get this thing dialed in. I will be joining the local club here on Maui, and so hopefully that'll kind of give me some tips. One of the other cons was on my version here, the transmitter wouldn't rebind to the quad after it lost signal. Like if I turned it off, I saw some videos on YouTube where the guy turning it back on and it would rebind, but I could not get this thing to rebind no matter what I tried. So say you're racing and you lose control, the failsafe makes it drop the way I've set the failsafe. It's in the woods. I want to be able to kind of hit this, that beeper switch I put on there, that little buzzer, so I can hear it. But if the controller is broken connection and it won't rebind, then this ain't gonna work. So that was one of the cons as well. And I guess you could look at this kind of as a pro or a con. The failsafe from the factory is just to kind of hover, and at least you can adjust pretty easily in the controller menu how to make the failsafe just cut off the motors and drop, just in case you do kind of go out of range. It'll drop instead of keep flying and hitting things or whatever. So one more thing was the flip of death that's kind of seems to be going hand in hand with this Walkera runner. At least you can kind of mitigate that by making your motors spin all the time when you are armed and when you have throttle hold off. So not a big deal, but the only problem with that was I noticed in the wind when I was trying to throttle all the way down to drop altitude fast. It could have been just because it was really windy, but it was tough to kind of get back down low. So I could see for FPV racing, if you are trying to drop altitude really quick, say for obstacles or something, so that kind of stuff should be taken care of by the factory, by the manufacturer before it's even out to the public. It's just a motor syncing issue, which they really need to work on. Really, I mean, the amount of problems I had with this off the bat, I mean, my controller didn't work right, the OSD didn't work, the FPV didn't work, the camera didn't work. So really, I mean, for somebody that's buying this thing and to have all those problems, I really hope that the company Walkera or whoever they bought it from, in this instance, it's a review model from GearBest.com, And I will have the links in the description of where you can purchase this if you are looking at purchasing one of these. But as far as, I'm hoping that this is just kind of a fluke defective thing that's going on with this one they sent me, because really, I mean, if you buy this thing and you have all these problems, you're going to be really upset and disenchanted with this whole deal here. It took me quite a bit of time to figure all this out, what was defective, put on my own FPV system. When I did do that, it was great. It flew fine. Everything was great. If you know how to fly, you're probably going to want to have something else. This is more probably a all-in-one kit, pre-built beginner kit. It will do 4S, which is good. You'll get a lot more speed and lift from a 4S battery. So that is a pro actually, that it's set up to take a 4S battery. So when you do start to get better, you can throw in a 4S, have a little more speed, be a little more competitive. So who knows? It really, when you race, I've raced RC for a long time. I've been into RC for like 25 years now. I used to race here in Maui when I was young at the local track in RC truck and buggy. And it really, I mean, you can have a guy that has all the pro stuff and you can have a guy that has pretty mediocre stuff, and it really depends on the driver and the pilot. So once you have, two pilots that are pretty equal in their skill, then the components start to make a difference. So anyway, guys, hope you liked the review, and I hope it helped you decide if you wanted to buy something like this. Don't get me wrong, it is a good beginner kind of introduction into the race quad arena. Being that there was some defective items, don't let that kind of hinder you on going for something like this. There's always defective flukes, and I'm sure the companies will take care of the problems that I mentioned here. So overall, good quad, just had defective problems with me. Please comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.